Let's be real. Have you ever had one small comment completely ruin your entire day? Or felt like your mood was on a roller coaster that everyone else was controlling? Well, today, we're going to dive into that exact feeling through the story of a guy named Nickel, who's about to discover something pretty profound about how his own mind works. And this, right here, was Nickel's whole problem. And maybe it sounds a little familiar to you, too. He was just so sensitive. And his sense of who he was, it was completely tied to what other people thought. He didn't just hear their words, he became them. And as you can imagine, this created a constant state of chaos inside his head, where he never really felt in control. So because of this fragile identity, his inner peace was constantly getting shattered by things that most people might just, brush off. And you can see just how deep this went. If someone gave him praise, man, he was on top of the world. But a single word of criticism, that would literally send him into a spiral for days. A friend's casual joke wasn't just a joke. To him, it was a final diagnosis of his personality. He completely merged with whatever he was feeling. Sadness wasn't just passing through, it meant I am a depressed person. Fear wasn't just a fleeting moment, it meant I am a coward. He was basically a prisoner to every thought and feeling that floated by. And honestly, he was getting sick of it. So finally, totally fed up with this emotional roller coaster, Nickel ends up stumbling into a meditation workshop. And this is what changed everything. The advice he got was so simple, but for Nickel, it was absolutely mind-blowing. At first, it was tough. His mind went into overdrive immediately. This is so boring. What am I even doing here? This is a total waste of time. But he just kept coming back to that one instruction. Just watch. Don't react. And for the very first time in his life, he actually tried to just observe his thoughts as they passed by without grabbing onto every single one. And this is the metaphor that just made it all click for him. The instructor explained that we make the mistake of thinking we are the clouds, the anger, the worry, the quick bursts of happiness. But our real self isn't the ever-changing weather. Our true self is the sky. It's that huge, stable, peaceful space where all those clouds just appear and then disappear. And boom, that was the big aha moment for Nickel. He finally got it. These feelings, they weren't permanent residents in his head. They were just visitors. They weren't him. He was the space that allowed them to hang out for a bit before they moved on. And that small shift in perspective, well, that was the beginning of his freedom. Okay, so with this new understanding, Nickel started really paying attention to what his mind was up to, and he noticed something pretty interesting. His mind wasn't just having random thoughts. Oh no, it was a full-blown storyteller, a master of drama, and it was always casting him as the lead character. So, take this example from his work. After a big meeting, Nikhil's boss gave him some pretty neutral feedback. Not glowing, not terrible, just okay. A simple, factual event. But that's not what Nickel's mind heard. Oh no. His mind instantly wrote a completely different story. It took that one neutral word and spun a full-blown catastrophe from it. You see, his mind wasn't a reporter. It was a drama director, turning a tiny spark into a raging fire of anxiety and fear about his entire future. This question right here became his secret weapon. Anytime he felt that old, familiar spiral of anxiety or anger starting to bubble up, he would just stop and ask himself this. It allowed him to pause, take a breath, and separate the reality of what was happening from the fiction his mind was producing. And this shift was a real transformation. I mean, look at the difference here. He went from being a character trapped inside the drama to becoming the audience, just watching the play unfold without getting lost in it. He went from identifying with his feelings to simply observing them, and from believing his thoughts were the truth to recognizing they were just stories. But just when Nickel thought he was getting the hang of this, he discovered there was another layer. He realized there were these deeper, subconscious patterns at play, these hidden habits that were actively sabotaging his own progress, especially when he was on the verge of success. So, when Nickel was made the lead on a huge new project, these patterns came roaring to the surface. He'd obsess over tiny details, driving his team crazy with perfectionism. He'd put off important decisions, telling himself he just needed more time. And underneath it all was this nagging voice of self-doubt, whispering that he just wasn't up to the task. So where did all this come from? Well, after some real reflection, Nickel traced it all the way back to his childhood. He realized he'd learned that making a mistake wasn't just about failing a task.
It meant risking the loss of love and respect from his family. And this deep-seated fear was still running the show, causing him to sabotage himself just to avoid any possibility of failure.
Realizing that these patterns were just old, frightened parts of himself, Nikhil knew he couldn't just fight them. Instead, he had to apply the same tool that had helped him before: pure, non-judgmental observation. This is the ultimate solution. In his daily life, he put it into practice. Whether he was stuck in traffic feeling rage bubble up, or in a meeting feeling the fear of criticism, he would stop, he'd take a breath, and just watch the feeling. He wouldn't label it bad or try to push it away. He would simply notice it as a physical sensation, a tightness in his chest, a heat in his face, and just allow it to be there until it naturally passed, just like a cloud moving across the sky. And this became his new identity. His entire journey led him to this profound and liberating truth. His true self wasn't the anxious thoughts, the self-sabotaging patterns, or the fleeting emotions. He was the silent, steady consciousness behind it all, the observer, the one who simply sees. Nikhil's story shows us that true freedom doesn't come from changing our circumstances, but from changing our relationship with our own mind. And it leaves us with a powerful question to reflect on. Are you consciously authoring your life, or are you letting the automatic, dramatic storyteller in your head run the show?